Check. Check, check. I am checking the microphone. And the microphone sounds pretty good. So, good evening, and welcome to the stream. Tonight, I'm going to be continuing my Thanksgivingmas in South Carolina travel tracer flights. And originally, I was actually not going to do this flight, but I realized there was a big opportunity to kind of flight see in the area that I actually stayed this past month. In case you haven't caught the previous streams, basically I went to visit my parents this month. We kind of had a Thanksgiving Christmas combination get together type thing, and we went into the village of McCormick and saw a couple places which I would like to point out. And on previous trips we've been to the Thurmond Dam, which is a big dam, which I would also like to point out. So basically, the flight plan today, I flew into Augusta Regional Airport, which is where my dad picked me up, and we drove up to where they live, which is a community that's kind of, I guess, at least partly created by the Thurmond Dam. And I'll just go ahead and start showing my screen here. So basically you have the Savannah River right here, and there's the Thurmond Lake Dam here, and it kind of, it's maybe easier to tell. Yeah, it's easier to tell on the regular mode, but basically this dam backs up this massive portion of the river. And creates kind of all these little finger lakes, I guess you would call them. And my parents live in a community called Savannah Lakes Village, and I'm not going to get any more detailed than that for their own privacy, but it is right up here in this area. And I think this is one part of it, and then there's another part over here. So basically my plan tonight is to take off from Augusta Regional Airport. I'm gonna do a touch and go at Daniel Field right here, and the reason for that is that I know my dad did a Flightseeing tour out of Daniel Field, so I thought he might want to see that. Then I'll continue up to the Thurmond Lake Dam, do a flyover of it, fly over some of Savannah Lakes Village, which again is this area, and then I will head east and fly over the village of McCormick. I will point out the, I guess they call it the Dorn Mill Complex in Google Maps. Locally it's called the Grist Mill. And there's also the Dorn House, which I visited on my recent trip, and that is this house right here. So I'll point those two places out. Then I'll do a quick touch and go over here at the McCormick County Airport and fly straight back to CAGS, or Augusta Regional Airport, and that'll be it. I think it'll probably take, I'm gonna guess 90 minutes, because I'm gonna be messing around. I'll probably do a couple circles in these areas and maybe set the autopilot and go into drone camera and take a look at them better. But yeah, that is it. I have plugged in a GPS flight plan from CAGS to CAGS, stopping at Daniel Field and McCormick County Field. There is actually a stop added right here near the Thurmond Dam. That'll just help me guide my flight, but I am using VFR, so I'm not going to be using nav mode or anything like that. Although maybe I will. I'm not sure about that yet. Regardless though, I am using the Cessna 172, which has a G1000 system, so I'll have a very good autopilot system that I can engage in case I do want to go into that drone camera mode. Flight conditions, I had previously set these, but they didn't stick apparently. I'm setting this for 3:30 in the afternoon on December 5th, which is the time when we left the house to go visit the village of McCormick and have our day there. So I'm setting it there, and I'm setting it to clear skies because that is indeed what the weather was on that day. So that is it. I'm going to be kind of doing a hybrid of having the AI manage the comms and me, because I don't think the AI is going to understand that I want to do touch and goes at Daniel and McCormick County. It'll probably think I'm doing a full stop landing, so I'll probably have to intervene a little bit during those portions. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say to preface this. I do have my glass of wine right here, which every aviator should have before takeoff. It is a Sauvignon, I don't know how to say that, Sauvignon Blanc wine. Sauvignon. And I just realized I forgot to set my starting point as a ramp, so I should be set up and on the runway and ready to go right away, which I guess is better for the viewer, but a little bit less fun for me. I like to start the airplanes from scratch.
Augusta Tower, Cessna November 75649er at runway 26 ready for takeoff, departure to the north.
Cessna November 75649er cleared for takeoff, runway 26 departure to the north approved.
Oh, and I was going to mention this, I forgot to do it the other night, but
runway 26 Cessna 649er.
I applied the free livery that Microsoft released with the most recent update. I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's just a giant advertisement for the game, but there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. And here we are. Just take a look. Caution. Standby battery. What does that mean? I don't know what that is, but my standby battery gave a caution there, but it looks fine. I assume it's supposed to be armed during flight, but I don't really know. And there it is again. Well, that's a great way to start a flight there. I'm not going to need it. I don't have any failures armed, so there shouldn't be any issues. Maybe if I just leave it at off, that'll be fine. But that's definitely a weird thing. Let me just look at a couple things before I get started. I just popped that map over to my other monitor so I can look at it as I go. because I don't know this area at all, and I feel like I'm likely to get lost. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in a random altitude, just so I have it. And yeah, here we go. I haven't done many flights in the 172 yet. Logically, I should be the most familiar with the 172, since that is the plane that I soloed in. But I will say that it looked nothing like this one, because it didn't have the G1000. So I'm going to fly runway heading momentarily and then turn off to the right, start heading north.
Cessna 649 or continue for north departure. I will contact you next when you leave my airspace.
Augusta Tower Cessna November 75, 649er, continue for north departure.
So, yeah, my first stop is Daniel Field, and it's like really close. So I'm actually going to go ahead and disable the AI comms. Whoa. No, I'm not. Never mind. So hopefully the AI will switch my radio to Daniel Field. Otherwise, I'm going to have to just do it myself. We'll see what happens in the next couple minutes. Oh, that's annoying. So every time I click off this monitor, I lose control for some reason. So that's why it's kind of jerking around. That's my excuse anyway. I set my altitude at 2,000 and oh, I remember how to do that. Need to set it and then hit vertical speed mode, and then you can nose up and kind of a random heading for now. And hold my heading.
Cessna 649er, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Augusta Tower Cessna, November 75649er, frequency change. Atlanta Center Cessna, November 75649er, is type Cessna Skyhawk 3 miles southeast of Kilo Delta November Lima. Request, flight following. Cessna November 75649er, Atlanta Center. Squawk 4576. Squawk 4576 Cessna 649er.
Wow, it's totally snuck up on me, I think. Yeah, that's Daniel Field.
Contact 2 miles south of Kilo Delta November Lima 2,000 feet. Altimeter 29.92. Copy Cessna 649er.
So this is Daniel Field right here. Obviously I'm totally messing up the pattern entry. I'm not sure why. It seems like it just, it seems like the AI is just not gonna put me onto the, whatever the traffic frequency is for the airport. And I actually am not sure which one of these is the right one. Someday I'll probably know what I'm doing, but not today. Yes, I am going to turn around and land at it. I think I'll do runway 29. Although technically, yeah, that's the one that's closest to my takeoff heading, so I think that is probably the correct one for the
Kilo Delta November Lima traffic Cessna November
wind.
75649er, 2 miles northwest 2,000 feet inbound to land runway 29er.
So I'm pretty sure somewhere on here it should tell me which direction the traffic pattern is. But I don't know where. Maybe it's on one of these. Or does that change depending on the day? I don't remember. I'm gonna fly a left-hand pattern, and I'm pretty sure the way you're supposed to do this is you fly over the runway near the middle and then circle around. So that's what I'm gonna do. This jacket is boiling hot. This is my brand new jacket that I got today. My girlfriend got it for me.
Kilo Delta November Lima traffic Cessna November 75649er, 2 miles southwest 1,400 feet inbound to land runway 29er.
So it's saying I'm inbound to land, but I'm not. I'm just doing a touch and go. And I don't know how to change that at this point. So basically right now I'm on downwind, maybe a little bit far from the runway, but somewhat close to where I should be. Or maybe I'm not too far, but just too low. I probably am too low. Just come out a little further. Yeah, I need to get better at actually reading these charts. I'm not sure what you call them. I almost want to call it a plat, but I don't think that's right. Oh, here, this is where, ASOS, not sure what that is. I bet there's a traffic pattern altitude somewhere on there that I don't know how to read. I'll go ahead and start my base leg. Get a notch of flaps. And final. And there's a warning.
Kilo Delta November Lima traffic Cessna November 75649er is on final runway 29er to land.
I think that sound might have something to do with the localizer, but I'm not actually sure. Because there's this O that popped up down here. And I think that's a localizer thing. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff I gotta learn, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. But I won't be using any localizers or anything like that. Just kinda gonna eyeball it today. Trying to remember, when you do a touch and go, do you only do like half flaps or something, or do you do full flaps and then put them up as you're kind of rolling and then take off? I honestly don't remember. But look at that, a truck driving right across the runway. That's just really great. this is going to be a quick one. And there we go. Flaps are coming up.
Kilo Delta November Lima, traffic Cessna November 75649er going around.
No, I'm not. Ugh, that's really annoying.
One 135.35 for Southwest 4110.
Atlantis Center Cessna November 75649er is type Cessna Skyhawk, 2 miles west of Kilo Delta November Lima. Request, flight following. Cessna November 75649er Atlantis Center. Squawk 2105. Cessna 649er, did you hear my last transmission?
Yes, I heard it, and my co-pilot has apparently decided to stop talking to you.
Squawk 2105, Cessna 649er. Cessna 649er radar contact 2 miles northwest of Kilo Delta November Lima, 1,600 feet. Altimeter 29.902.
Ouch! My cat is biting me right now.
Copy Cessna 649er.
Okay. So I got the autopilot squared away. I did get an altimeter of 29902, which is good. And this cat is all up in my business right now. And that's okay. I would mind that less if he wasn't chewing on my nice headphones cable. Okay, so we got the first stop over, and we are heading north-ish, and yeah, we're heading toward the Thurman Dam, and I actually think I can already see it up there. Yeah, that's going to be it right there, I think. And this is the Savannah River / lakes. Lake? Savannah Lake? Behind it. So that's going to be the dam. Just my heading a little bit. And I'll stay right at this 2,000 feet. And I do see that I have a few viewers, and yeah, it'd be nice if they would come into the chat and join me, but it's fine, I can always talk to myself forever. So there is the dam, and I think what I'll go ahead and do, since I have the autopilot all set up, I think I'll go ahead and just enter the drone camera for a minute and just check it out as my plane continues over. We got a freeze here. That's never a good sign. I have noticed that I feel like Microsoft has done some work to make the freezing both less common and also less like fatal. Like in the beginning when it froze, it was pretty much game over, and now when it freezes it seems to hang for a minute and then it can recover. So I think there's a bit of programming on the backside that's allowed them to do that. Right now I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to disable the tags for the other players because they kind of annoy me. But how do you do that? Here we go. Show nameplates off. Apply, go back, resume. It is cool to see the other players, but it's kind of annoying when you're doing just a scenic flight.
Going to 135.35 Southwest, 68903.
So here's one kind of cool thing, a subdivision under development.
Is out of flight level tree, 40 for 10,000 feet. Spirit Wings 2711 Atlanta Center, continue as planned.
And this is, of course, the Savannah River. And you can just barely see a light flashing here. I think that's going to be Daniel Field. And then you can see a rabbit right here, just barely, and that's going to be Augusta Regional. And this whole area is, you know, pretty much Augusta. There's my plane down there, just crossing the river. And here's the dam up here. As you would probably expect, there's some large power lines coming from, really, the dam. And here it is. So, of course, you know, you can never expect too much out of a game like this that's mapped the entire planet. So obviously there's some weird stuff going on with the photogrammetry overlay. onto the 3D surface, but at least, you know, they got the water levels right on either side of the dam, and from a distance, I think it actually looks pretty good. I mean, you can definitely tell what that is from the air. Yeah, it's cool. This is on medium graphics settings, and I almost kind of wanted to wait to do this flight until I upgraded my GPU, which I plan to do in the next month or so. When I came here, we came down this road and turned up here and parked here and went into the visitor center where you could kind of look out over everything, and then we walked down here just onto the dam just to check it out. And I remember there were a ton of like huge spiders along these rocks here that would just kind of scurry away as soon as you got too close. So yeah, there it is, Thurman Dam. And there's my plane just going along. Just kind of comparing my maps here to make sure I know where I'm actually going. And basically it's pretty easy to pick out where this branch of the lake, river, where that branch is, and then this is kind of the area that I'm looking at for Savannah Lakes Village. So I'll find that branch, and then I'll fly around in here a little bit and head over to the village of McCormick. And that branch is going to be this one up here. So I got a little ways to go. I'm going to change my heading a little bit real quick. Just because I am to the right of it. Should be good about there. So yeah, as I was saying, this is on medium graphics, and above that there's like high, and And then above that there's Ultra, and there is definitely some, you know, room for improvement in this area. I mean, you got a few random buildings scattered around, but other than that, everything is pretty flat, and could be I just haven't flown around here enough for the scenery cache to, you know, download everything. But, you know, it could definitely be better. They do have some trees here, but they kind of stop after a little ways, so. Of course, if I was a little bit higher, that would help too. Village of McCormick. Let's see. So this is all Savannah Lakes Village in here, so I'm thinking maybe this right here is the village. It's hard to tell from this angle. Maybe right, yeah, I think right here maybe. There's something there. That looks like a pretty big building. Oops. There's that. So there's the branch. There's a lake area on the building. Branch, lake area. Not exactly sure what that building is. So that building is right here. This is it. So it put a pretty big building this really just looks like well, kind of looks like a storage building to me. But it rendered it as like it's like a 3-story apartment. You can see all these kind of, I guess those are docks or marinas in there. And I mean, obviously this is a place where there's just going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of docks. Just tons of places to launch a boat. Actually, it looks a lot like Minnesota to me. So, this is the Savannah River, and this is that branch that I pointed out. And so Savannah Lakes Village is this area. And there's the bridge, or a bridge, I should say. And there's another piece of Savannah Lakes on this side as well. So I'm going to keep flying this way, and I'll kind of swoop over these areas in the drone camera. And then I'll take a turn to the east and head toward McCormick. So here's...
Envoy 4163, contact your desktop approach on 126.8.
Here's this bridge. I don't think I actually have been over that bridge. because I don't think we usually cross over onto the west side. I don't remember exactly where all we went. But this is the kind of west side of Savannah Lakes. I know the golf courses are named. I don't remember the names. One of them is Monticello? I never pronounce that word right because in Illinois there's a village of Monticello, and I think that's wrong. But there's also like a San Jose, Illinois, and Cairo instead of Cairo. So yeah, this is Savannah Lakes. And there is, I'm assuming that is one of the clubhouses. There's a building here with a pool. That might be... I went to the pool the first time I was there. It was some years ago, and I think that is like the pool of the community. There's another bridge there. And like I said, you can see all these kind of boat docks or launches or whatever out there. And then this is the east side. And let's see if I can find the clubhouse there. There might be another pool here, but I'm not sure. Well, there's, yeah, that's pretty obviously the clubhouse there. Yep. So that's the clubhouse, and this area is the driving range, and I did some driving at that driving range, and yeah, there's that. That kind of looks like a... No, that's just a building. Never mind. And my plane is somewhere around here. I do not see my plane anymore. Okay, so I am way past the village, and I will be gonna just go ahead and use the autopilot to turn back around. Makes it a nice smooth turn. And I'm thinking the village is in this area. Don't really see anything identifying yet. Try to fly directly over Savannah Lakes. there it is. Or at least the east half of it. Okay, so I am a bit off course now. Airport is... it's back this direction. It's actually a little bit north and to the east. I'm gonna go ahead and land toward the south.
Sierra 19er traffic Cessna November 75, 649er 3 miles west 2,000 feet inbound to land runway 18.
And yeah, I said I was gonna tour the city or the village first, but I'm actually gonna do the landing first, and then as I'm making the long trek back to Augusta, I'll use the drone camera and check it out. This is it, the village of McCormick right here. You can see there's the railroad, and so basically the grist mill that I mentioned is this complex right here, and then the Dorn house that I mentioned is, I believe, this right, no, this one right here, but I'll come back and look at those in a second. First things first, I gotta find the airport. Oh, I'm right over it. Awesome. Okay, so I'm landing, I should say, touching and going to the south. So I'll disengage the autopilot, and again, I'm going to try to do a left downwind. I've already kind of missed my entry quite a bit at this point. As I was researching for this flight, I was just kind of poking around on Google Earth, and I actually didn't know there's a huge, huge prison right kind of on the left side of the screen right now. Well, I shouldn't say huge, but that's pretty big. Obviously, it's I think it's like a state, state facility. So definitely not a small thing. But that's always a great way for counties or villages to fuel their economy, although sometimes residents aren't such a big fan of having a prison in the area. I have, generally have quite a bit of confidence in the security of prisons, but it's kind of one of those, I don't know, just kind of a nuisance thing, I guess, like a landfill. Not to be rude to prisoners, I guess. And I'm not even going to try to figure out what the pattern altitude is supposed to be. I'm just kind of going to eyeball it again.
Sierra 19er traffic Cessna November 75649er 3 miles northeast 1,100 feet inbound to land runway 18.
I'm gonna try to just do 10 degrees of flaps this time. I really don't remember the protocol. Of course, where I did my training was really a different story because it was just a massive runway. I don't remember how many feet, but it was very long.
500.
And this is quite a bit shorter.
Sierra 19er traffic Cessna November 75649er is on final runway 18 to land.
It looks like the game correctly kind of cut down the trees right in front of the runway here. Oh, and that's a wastewater treatment plant that's right under me. It's a good place for it. The land right at the threshold of a runway is not going to be very valuable anyway. Okay, this is going to be really quick. Pretty rough, but we all survived. Okay, so now I'm going to get the autopilot set up to bring us back to
Sierra 19er
tags.
traffic Cessna November 75649er going around.
Yeah. Okay, just gonna make sure I'm stable. Everything looks good. Flaps are up. So I'm gonna go back to the drone camera and head back to the village and check that out. There's my plane off in the distance. So you can see this airport light flashing here. That's the runway, just did the touch and go on. There goes my plane. And over here is the prison. And this is the village of McCormick. Yeah, as I said, this is the grist mill right here. Obviously the model is way off from reality, but you know, you can only expect so much from an AI that's modeling the entire planet. This is kind of their main street here, and while we were there, they had a Christmas parade. Had the fire engines and, you know, different sports teams and whatnot just kind of file down the main street. And then around here is the Dorn house. And again, model is way off, but that's it. The Dorn house was, well, at the time, a very impressive, you know, I guess you would have probably called it a mansion back then. That was owned by, I'm trying to remember, some guy named Dorn. Yeah, I don't remember, obviously. But an extremely wealthy person in the area who I think made money by like buying gold rights, or maybe it was oil. I think it was gold. And yeah, obviously this whole area, there was a ton of mining back in the day that's since dried up. And there is the McCormick County Airport and the prison off in that direction. And my plane up there. Actually, that is not my plane. My plane is way off this way. And Savannah Lakes is in this area. Oh, and we, I do remember one time we drove by this. This is a lumber mill. Right here. You can see all the, really these are just huge piles of logs. I'm not exactly sure what they do with them there, but it's a big operation. Okay, so my plane is getting way off course yet again, so I'm going to get back to the cockpit. And we'll go back over the dam again. It's going to be right in this area. And from there it's pretty much a straight shot down to, I think this light on the left is Daniel Field, and the one on the right is going to be Augusta Regional. RPMs are high. Bring them down. I think 2200 RPM is the target for cruising. Got a plane flying right over me right now. There it goes. Some kind of jet, you can see it down here. And there's the dam. I created a custom waypoint right here. So again, you know, up close it definitely doesn't look great, but from a distance it definitely looks good enough. And one of these days I'm gonna do a comparison video, just comparing this to Flight Simulator X. And I bet if I go in there won't even be anything here. It'll just be ground and a river and nothing. So this is definitely, it's just really, really cool to play this game and be able to see the world and just know where you are based on what you're seeing. I've never had that experience before, so this is, very cool. So again, I think this is Daniel Field here, and then Augusta Regional. Actually, I think that rabbit is for Augusta Regional, and we're kind of flying almost right over Daniel Field. Okay, here we go. I knew it was going to be somewhere. So basically you have the different runways here, and it just says traffic left, or traffic pattern left. So that's where you get that information. It's obviously a runway, dimensions, material. These are the different weight classes the runway can handle, and I don't know what a 172 is, but I think it's going to be the very lightest, whatever that is. High intensity edge lighting. It's obviously just the lights around the edge of the runways. Elevation, so that's the elevation of the runway. Wow, it's a lot lower here than I would have expected. Central Illinois, where I live, is in the 700s. I felt like, yeah, I don't know. I felt like McCormick, or this, this whole area was higher, kind of as you got up, toward the Smoky Mountain or the Appalachian Mountains. Just the runway heading, markings, glide slope indicator. I'm not sure what that means. P4, so that's probably just PAPI, and then 4 lights on the left side. PAPI 4L, PAPI 4 left, that's my guess. Type of lights at the runway. Don't know what that means. 1,400 foot, so yeah, I don't know what that means. 1,400 foot. I mean, obviously that's it's not as simple as like you can see it for 1,400 feet. It must be 1,400 feet in some certain weather condition. And then just talking about obstacles in front of the runway. I don't think I know what runway I'm coming into yet, although I think it usually says. There's got to be somewhere where you can look up what runway is the active runway. I'm not sure if this website does that or not. I don't know. So I'm just going to get closer and let my co-pilot make contact and get the runway then, and then figure out what I'm going to do for pattern entry. And as I'm flying here, I am going to do the Dorn House a little bit of justice and check out the Wikipedia page. Built in 1917, so about a decade newer than the house where I live. It's a 2-story brick colonial revival style dwelling. Built by Joseph Jennings Dorn, a prominent businessman and politician. That is not very much information at all. But it is on the National Register of Historic Places. Oops, it's the same article. I know, it's like I was just there. I should probably remember a little bit more, but you know, I'm a busy person. I got a lot of information that goes through my brain on a daily basis. Not the least of which is trying to learn how to fly planes using a video game. Let me just look up Joseph Jennings Dorn. Nope, not the house. Not much information, just on the person. Go ahead and check out Daniel Field again as I fly by. Kind of an interesting runway configuration. I feel like I don't usually see them at an angle like that. Usually they're, you know, right across, or right, you know, in like a perfect cross or X shape. These are like really angled and they're kind of end to end. And that looks like a big college right there. Augusta University, Somerville campus. And this is Augusta International, and I'm not sure if my co-pilot is going to
Augusta Tower Cessna November 75649er.
get this,
6
so I'm
miles
gonna
north of
intervene.
India to land.
Cessna November 75649er Augusta Tower. Fly left traffic runway 26. Altimeter 29er decimal 9er 2 and 277 at 3.
Take left traffic runway 26 Cessna 649er.
Left traffic for 26. Left traffic for 26. So 26 is going to be right here, I believe. Yeah, 26 is going to be this runway. I'm doing left traffic, so I'm going to need to cross the center line here and then come around that way. Try to do it using the autopilot still. So I'm gonna, like I said, cross over the runway here and then do left traffic. This is gonna be runway 26 right here. I shouldn't say 26 right here, I should just say 26 here. So there's no right or left. There's that warning again. Again, I think it has to do with the localizer or OBS or whatever you call it. But I am totally ignoring it. This is Augusta Regional. And you can actually smell this wastewater treatment plant right here. Or at least I smelled it when I was driving in here to leave. There's the terminal. I kind of poked around here when I landed the other night, so I won't do that again. But yeah, looks like this is quite a bit bigger of a runway than the one I'm landing on. It's not that much longer, but so this is 800 feet versus, or 8,000 feet versus 6,000 feet. But the one I'm landing on is only 75 feet wide versus 150. So obviously this is their, you know, Jets runway, and this is their general aviation runway. I'll go ahead and flip off autopilot and start taking it down. Thank you, Dave. Yes, I am.
649 are cleared to land runway 26. Wind 277 at tree.
I have the.
Clear to land runway 26 Cessna 649er.
I have the tag, backseat gaming allowed on for a reason, and that reason is that I am always open to any advice anyone is willing to give. What are the 1,000 markers? I am neither. I am a flight sim gamer. I soloed in a 172 about 15 years ago, and didn't do much since then, just flight sim on and off a little bit. But when this game came out over the summer, I had to pick it up. Yeah. So I kind of pretend I know what I'm doing, but I don't know if I would do very well out there in the real world. But I'm trying to learn. So back in the day, I really thought that I was going to either become a commercial pilot or go into the Air Force, and really for a while I really did want to go into the Air Force. But at some point in high school, I kind of came to the feeling that it just wasn't a viable career path for me. And I kind of soured on the idea of going the whole Air Force route. So I stopped. And, you know, at that time I got through the solo, and then it kind of became an issue of too much time and money to, you know, to keep going and get a full license at that time. Yeah, I mean, I know enough. It's like, yeah, I know enough to make it, I guess, but I know I'm making mistakes, like, protocol-wise. Like, I still don't know how to figure out what the pattern altitude is for an airport, so I'm just kind of at a random altitude here. But I do know the Pappy is telling me I'm too high, so I know that much. And I do know that I need to deploy flaps. And I do know that I'm going too fast to deploy flaps because I'm not in the white zone. Yeah, if you would hang on for a minute, I would appreciate if you could point out where that is on the airport chart, because I was looking and I could not find it. What's your background? Dang, those trees seem really high for being this close to the airport. So there we go. Welcome to Augusta Regional.
Cessna 649, return next taxiway.
Go ahead and get my
Cessna
flaps up.
649,
Down
contact
goes.
ground on 121.9er.
121.9er Cessna 649er.
So I don't know why the AI always fails to make contact with ground, so I'll go ahead and do that.
Augusta ground, Cessna November 75649er taxi
Thank you,
to
V8.
parking.
Cessna November 75649er taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Charlie cross runway tree 5 Charlie Bravo.
Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway Charlie cross runway tree 5 Charlie Bravo Cessna 649er.
And yes, I do taxi with the ribbon because I always get lost at airports. What is a PPI flight test? Or what is PPI, I guess? That's good to know about the white arc for full flaps only. I did not know that. Oh, PPL. Gotcha. Well, congrats. That's exciting. What do you use a 172? Or what plane do you use, Dave? Let's see, I am cleared to cross. And actually, now that you mention SP, I'm quite sure the 172 that I soloed in was an SP. I don't really know what the difference is. I mean, I think SP stands for Special Performance. Don't know exactly what the differences are, though. I guess I always just assumed it was, like, tougher. Or somehow designed for, you know, student pilots to make mistakes in.
Cessna 649er, hold position, caution, other traffic.
Yep, I can see that.
Hold position Cessna 649er.
Cessna 649er, continue taxi.
Thank you.
Roger Cessna 649er.
Yeah, I really hope in a future update they kind of fix the, like, airport vehicle traffic. Because there's just, like, way too much of it, and it's so erratic, it's, like, hard to deal with. Especially at, like, a small airport like this. And I think it's kind of hilarious that they have a guy with, batons for a 172. But that's okay. Okay, so I'm parked. Parking brake is set. Flaps are up. I'm actually just gonna leave the avionics on for now, just so I can... Yep, don't care. Just so I can chat for a minute, since I have some viewers. Oh, I was gonna ask, well, maybe probably both you guys would know, where do you find the pattern altitude on the airport map? Okay. Gotcha. Chart supplement. Yeah, I don't know where to look. TPA. Can you do like a Control F here, maybe? Nope. Nope. Oh, here we go. There's no pattern, no TPA. Gotcha. So if there isn't one listed, do you just assume 1000 AGL? Airport or runway elevation was somewhere on here. Yeah, right here. So like runway 26, 137.5. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, makes sense. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was kind of my flight for today, unless you guys want to see something else in particular. Not really sure what else to do. I'm already at 90 minutes on the stream. Sure, I can do that.
Augusta ground, Cessna November 75649er with India request taxi to the active touch and go.
Cessna November 75649er taxi to and hold short of runway 26 via taxiway Bravo Charlie cross runway 35 Charlie. Contact tower on 118.7 when ready.
Okay. So, yeah, if you guys want to walk me through starting the engine, that would be great. I'm trying to remember. I think there's a primer somewhere. Or is it fuel pump? I think you just... Whoops. I did copy.
Taxiing hold short runway 26 using taxiway Bravo Charlie cross runway 35 Charlie Cessna 649er.
Oh, duh. Mixture's all the way out. There we go. Oh, I might have just killed someone right there. Yep, I totally just killed all my ground crew. What happened to my parking brake? I thought the parking brake was on. Excuse me. So having just murdered 2 or 3 people, I'm going to have to go ahead and do some touch and goes, because that's what you do, right? Don't touch the fuel pump. Too late. Oh yeah, I always do landings from up here. I don't know if there's it always defaults to like this instrument view, but as I'm landing and sometimes just when I'm flying around, you hit shift space and it just like props you up to, I mean really this is kind of like, to me, this is where your head actually sits in the plane. Like when you're down here, I don't know, that just seems like that's where a really short person's head would be, I think. But okay, so I am taxiing and holding short of 26, and I have clearance to cross 35C. So I'm gonna go back down there. It's actually getting to be a kind of nice time of the day. I started this flight at 3:30. I'm not sure if there's a clock in here, but yeah, it's already 5. Gotcha. Yeah, you can do it that way too. Yeah, shift space. Actually, shift space brings it higher than, or it brings it all the way up, basically. No, it actually brings it quite a bit higher. Hold up. Yeah, it brings it higher than you can get with just the arrow keys. I am taxiing a little fast here. There is no reason why I have to go all the way to the end, but I'm worried that if I don't, the AI will get confused and not ask for takeoff clearance, so I'm going to go all the way down. And I will set 10 degrees of flaps for takeoff, which I believe is the appropriate amount of flaps, perhaps? I think. And looks like the AI is gonna forget to tune to the tower anyway.
Augusta Tower, Cessna, November 75649er, at runway 26 ready for takeoff, touch and go.
Cessna November 75649er cleared for takeoff, runway 26 left touch and go approved.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 26 Cessna 649er.
So I now know that my traffic pattern altitude is 1,000 feet above the runway altitude, which was, I believe, 136. So my pattern altitude is 1,136. I'm just going to call it 1,200 and target for that. I think my rotate is 65, not totally sure, but I'm in the air, so I guess it's all good. And instead of a touch and go, I'll probably make this a full stop landing and call it a night, since it looks like Dave and V8 have left me. But that's all good. It's nice of them to stop by. Fly the runway heading for a minute, then start my left-hand pattern. Oh, hey, you are still here. It says one viewer, and I have it up on another laptop, so I always assume that when it goes down to one viewer, that means I'm the only one viewing. Sometimes I think the viewer count is glitchy or something. So you said you were an instructor, right? I guess I'm just curious, an instructor in what aircraft type or what aircraft types? All I remember about, like, keeping the right distance from the runway is halfway up the strut, so I think I'm about right here. And then of course you want to get the opposite of your runway heading, so I'm 2.6, so I got about the right heading there.
Cessna 649 are cleared, touch and go left traffic runway 26.
I'm a little above altitude, probably a little fast. And I think right about when you get to the end of the runway is when you should start descending. That's what I vaguely remember. I mean, it has literally been 15 years since I soloed.
Please acknowledge.
Yes, I acknowledge.
Cleared touch and go runway 26 Cessna 649er.
And I'm pretty sure once you start descending, you should have carb heat on. I actually don't know where that is in this plane. Somewhere down there. I'm not going to worry about it, because I don't think that will actually give you a failure in the game. I'll go ahead and hit a notch of flaps, 10 degrees. Oh, it doesn't have a carburetor. That's interesting. The 172 that I soloed in did, so I guess there's different types of 172. Seem a little close, but it's okay. I'll hit a second notch of flaps, and I'm pretty sure you're always supposed to have full flaps when you land.
500.
Not totally sure on that. And that's, I have more questions than answers, but I'm pretty sure when you do a touch and go, you do full flaps, you touch down, and then as you roll for a little bit, you get the flaps back up to 10, and then you take off. I think that's the procedure, but I'm not sure about that. Well, that's what I'm going to do. So my flaps are back to 10, and I will hit the throttle and take back off. I think rotate is 65. And flaps up. Gotcha. So obviously this is a very new one with the G1000, so that makes sense. Here we got a nice sunset. I'm going to have to flip on some lights in a second. So 1,200 feet, pattern altitude, level off. Reduce throttle to 2,200 RPM. Turn left onto downwind. I think I'm a little further from the runway this time. That's okay. Try to get that 2.6 right at the bottom. Runway halfway up the strut, which is good. And as long as I'm up here, look at my lights. Strobe is on. It's like all the correct lights are on right now. They've been on all day, which I guess is fine. So my understanding is that basically you have your beacon, which should be on anytime the plane is operating.
649 are cleared, touch and go left traffic runway 26. Wind 277 at tree.
Cleared touch and go runway 26 Cessna 649er.
Your beacon should be on anytime the plane is operating. Your nav lights should be on pretty much anytime you're taxiing or in the air. Your strobe comes on when you are taking off, landing, or crossing an active runway. Your landing lights come on when you are taking off or landing. And then taxi lights come on when you are taxiing. I'm pretty sure that's all correct. And And then for airliners, there's all sorts of other little rules about, well, they have a bunch of different types of lights, like turning, like taxi turning or something lights, where it shines kind of at a 45-degree angle while you're turning left or right onto or off of a runway. And there's like the tail logo light that is kind of on at your discretion unless you are crossing an active runway, in which case you want to turn it on because that makes the side of your plane very visible. And yeah, there's other lights that airliners have like on the bottom of the plane that can help the ground crews see. These are just things that I remember. Go ahead and throttle down and get 10 degrees of flaps. Make my turn onto final. Beautiful the way the sun lights up the water. Looks like there might be a couple planes down there in the parking ramp. Really sure. I turned off the nameplates, so I guess I'm not sure if those are real players or just AI. And that water just looks incredible. Hopefully that comes across on the stream pretty well. And full flaps. Almost forgot. Okay, flaps to 10 and power up. And rotate. And flaps up. So, yeah, I think this is going to be my last one. I'm going to go ahead and do a full stop landing and call it a night there. Just because it seemed like some viewers joined pretty late, I'll just kind of recap what I did tonight. Basically, I'm kind of working through a series right now that I call a travel tracer, and recently I traveled down to South Carolina to visit my parents, and so basically what I what I did was I started a flight from Champaign, Illinois, where I live, and I flew by a 152 up to Bloomington Regional Airport, Bloomington, Illinois, and then I took off from there in a Citation CJ4 and flew down to Atlanta, and then from there to Augusta, again in the CJ4, and that was the actual route that I took on my flights down to South Carolina. And then today I basically did a flight from Augusta to Daniel Field, up to the Thurmond Dam, and then along Savannah River to the area where my parents actually live. I just kind of flew around there. The nearest village to them is the village of McCormick, and I kind of just checked out that area and then flew back here to Augusta. So my next flight will be again on the Citation from Augusta back through Atlanta, back up to Bloomington, and back to Champaign, and that'll be the whole trip. So pretty much I plan to do these travel tracer things anytime I go on a trip, and I'm gonna also kind of work backward and do some of the trips that I've done in the past. You know, using different aircraft and trying to match the route and weather conditions and all that kind of thing as closely as I can, based on, you know, historic data and whatnot.
Cessna 649 are cleared touch and go left traffic runway 26. Wind 277 at tree.
Oops. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And go runway 26 Cessna 649er.
So every time I mouse off this monitor, it like kind of freezes, or it stops my
Augusta Tower Cessna
control inputs.
649er cancel landing intention.
So that's why it's kind of jerking around.
Cessna 649er, your cancellation is received.
Augusta Tower Cessna November 75 649er is 4 miles east with India to land.
Cessna November 75649er, Augusta Tower. Fly straight in runway 26. Altimeter 29er decimal 9er 2 and 277 at tree.
Fly straight in runway 26 Cessna 649er.
Cessna 649er cleared to land runway 26. Wind 277 at tree.
Clear to land runway 26 Cessna 649er.
And there's a ton of planes down there now. Alright, I gotta check. I gotta see if those are real people or not. They are not. They are AI. Turning on to final. Flaps are up, need to be down. Every pattern I fly, it just gets more and more aesthetically beautiful. The sun is totally down now, though. It's actually my favorite time of day. I've heard it called magic hour. It's the time between sunset and, you know, total darkness. I think the reason it's called magic hour has to do with the fact that it's still light enough to be out, but there's no shadows, so it kind of gives everything this weird, I don't know, weird look to it. Definitely a little bit high this time, but I have plenty of runway, and actually I think I'll just let it roll until I'm closer to parking this time. Not even gonna touch the brakes.
Cessna 649, return next taxiway.
Get the flaps up, don't need those. That's the runway there.
Cessna 649, return next taxiway.
Okay. Not many more options.
Cessna 649, contact ground on 121.9er.
121.9er for Cessna 649er.
So I can reconfigure my lights here, turn off landing lights, turn off strobe, turn on taxi. Tune to ground. Taxi to parking.
Augusta ground, Cessna November 75 649er, request taxi to parking.
Cessna November 75649er, taxi to general aviation parking by taxiway Charlie, cross runway 35 Bravo.
What? My only option in the comm is to say again.
Cessna 649er, did you copy?
Seriously, I'll show you. All I can say is say again. Okay.
Augusta ground, Cessna 649er, say again please.
Cessna November 75649er, taxi to general aviation parking by taxiway Charlie, cross runway 35 Bravo.
I can't do anything other than say again. Which I think means
Cessna 649er, acknowledge last transmission.
that I'm gonna have to go ahead and turn off my radio. Which is probably against the rules. How do you do that?
Cessna 649er, please acknowledge.
I can't. Yeah, not sure how to silence that, but I'll just park somewhere random, I think. I'll park the same place I parked before.
ATC services terminated.
Great, thank you. Just pick this guy right here. And set my parking brake, and I think that'll be a flight. So yeah, thanks for joining me if you did. It's always nice to have some company to chat with while I'm flying. If you enjoyed, I sure appreciate the follow. If you're interested in seeing more Flight Simulator, I also play other random games, City Skylines, and do other random stuff on stream. I think one of the things I'm going to do next might be just kind of a live reading and discussion about a book that a cousin of mine wrote. So I'm just gonna kind of read it on stream. I really want to read it anyway, and yeah, I just thought it'd be kind of a cool idea to read it on stream and share my thoughts on it, and maybe get her some extra publicity while I'm at it. So yeah, that's about it. If you watched, I hope you enjoyed, and whether or not you enjoyed, I hope you have a wonderful evening.